What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podioslave podcast. My name is Tony, joined as always by Anthony.
What's happening? How we been? How we doing? How we feeling?
Now I just point to the computer when I'm like, come on, man, your turn.
Well, there was a stretch where I was missing it. I was on mute. And I was like, I can't get off mute, so I'm just gonna. He can save this.
Yeah, appreciate that. But yeah, we're back talking music like we typically do once a week for almost 5 years, and we're excited for this one because we went back across the pond to talk with the boys from Oversize. But before that, we want to thank everybody for the last couple of weeks. Have been really big for us. We had Grant from Heart to Gold, which did really well. He was awesome. That record's great. Go check that out. We did a Pod to the Future episode again where we're talking about what's happening down the line. And then Maddie was, all time. Love having him. And then another all-time guest, Brother Ali, last week, which, pretty badass convo. His new record's out now, too. So appreciate anybody that's coming back.
Yeah, we love it. And if this is your first time, we get those recent episodes. We do album deep dives. We do interviews. We do just me, Tony, and Nate, our third host, just hanging out, nerds at the bar, geeking about music. But if you're here from the Oversize world, we've had bands that on this podcast that and like Boston Manor, Teenage Wrist, Frank Turner, who else? I mean, go on our website, podioslave.com. It's at this point it's probably 150 bands.
Yeah, lots of different interviews with all kinds of different people from both across the world and across the musical landscape. We stick in the rock and heavy music world a lot of the times, but we've got hip hop in there, we've got punk in there, we've got all kinds of stuff. So photographers, who knows? I mean, you're going to find something. There's 250 plus episodes back there. I'm sure there's another one back there that you'd like. So go check that out too.
But yeah, we had Sam and Lewis from Oversize on tonight with us. And it was great. The album that's going to drop here shortly, Vital Signs, we are so high on it. If this was a stock podcast, we'd be buying. We'd be buying heavy. Yep. Hold the line to the moon type of thing.
Diamond
Love
hands?
The record.
Yeah, diamond hands.
I'd be diamond handsing the shit out of Oversize right now. And obviously they're getting attention. They recently signed to SharpTone Records. They get their debut coming out on February 28th. And we've heard it. We love it.
It's real good.
It's got tracks. And if you like our world, you'll like the album. And they were awesome guys. Awesome guys. Down to earth guys. And
they kind of gave us some insight into the making of it and what got us to this point, and on the precipice of it dropping. So really fun combo. Band that we definitely see the arrow pointing straight up right now. So we're all in. We think you guys will be too. Go check out the record when it comes out. But right now, check out the conversation with Sam and Lewis of Oversize. All right, we're here with Sam and Lewis from Oversize. Guys, how are you?
Hey guys, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Really good. Happy to be here.
We're great, man. We're stoked for this.
Sam, first question is for you.
Sure.
So you got Lewis, your bandmate, obviously. You got George, whose last name is Lewis, and your producer is also Lewis, right? Lewis John. So if you just shout out Lewis, how many heads turn?
But there's also two Sams in the band, right?
So yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it gets confusing. It's best just to kind of assume that it's all Lewis's, all Sam's.
Yeah.
Play it safe.
Well, it's funny. We got Tony and Anthony. And Tony, you've been asked out in the wild, are you Anthony? Because someone listens to the podcast. So like, are you Anthony? It's like, no, I'm Tony, a different guy.
I'm the other, yeah. And my real name isn't even Tony. So that messes with everybody. But I'll tell you guys off air. But yeah, they it's funny that we do the same thing. And do you all have just nicknames? Like I call Anthony Twan just to make my life easier.
Yeah.
We have Big Sam and Little Sam. So Sam, our drummer's like 6'7", so he's definitely Big Sam. And and Sam's like normal size. So not that Sam's abnormal, but he's average height. So Big Sam and Little Sam is usually a good one to go to. I think apart from that, we probably make up the most nicknames for our other guitarist, Taz,
Nice.
who we rarely call Taz. We call him Terrence or every other name other than Taz. Yeah.
Nice.
So I would say we're relatively new to the Oversize world. Like we heard some of the initial songs from the new album on Spotify, and then checked out the new album, and that was the turning point. I was like, all right, it's early. I know it's only February by the time you hear this, but the new record is probably my favorite release of the year so far. It is. We'll dig into all that, but we're all in. But what we don't know is how you get started. Like how does the Oversize story start?
Oh, well, thank you very much, first of all, mate. You go, Sam. Normally, I'm the one that answers the question, so I'll let Sam get some airtime on this.
So, the majority of us in the band are from the same city, so we kind of always grew up in the vicinity of each other, whether starting in other bands or just kind of hanging out as you do as like teenager grebos, hanging out at the skate park or whatever. And from that, it felt quite natural. It was kind of, I think we got to a point where we had to either finish the bands we were currently in, and then I'm pretty sure it was that, wasn't it, Lewis? We finished up our bits of the time, and then was like, we just want to make. We didn't take it too seriously, right? We just were like, we want to make something that sounds like Smashing Pumpkins.
I love it.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well. When Sam says city, we're from a place called Salisbury. Whilst it's technically a city, it's like 40,000 people, so it's not big at all. So it's like a kind of a place where when you're teenagers and you're into alternative music or alternative culture, you kind of know everyone in the same scene. So I moved home from uni. I was playing in a hardcore band called Grove Street at the time, or they're now known as Grove Street, Shower Grove Street. And I just moved home, and I'd known Sam for years through music, and I just sent him some demos. Basically, just wanted to sound like Sunny Day Real Estate meets Smashing Pumpkins. I just sent like some guitar demos because I really liked Sam's voice in previous projects that he'd done. And you were working with Big Sam at the time. He's a drummer, and he happened to dig it. And then before we know it, we were jamming in his attic, and kind of started from there. And then it was very casual though, because I was still like my old band. We were playing lots of shows and touring quite a bit, and this was like a bit of an outlet for me to sort of not that it wasn't fun, but when you get to a certain point of being in a band, the elements of just like messing around with friends, there's way more pressure. You're worrying about shows, you're worrying about ticket sales, you're worrying about streaming numbers and all of that sort of stuff. And it kind of, not that the joy gets taken out of it, but like that real primal fun of playing in a band is like lessened. So I just like, it was definitely a vice for me to just meet up with friends on weekday nights after work and just write music for the sake of writing music. We had no other agenda at that time. And we did that for just a couple of years, like really casually. And then, we kind of kicked into next gear and sort of put it out to the world as Oversize.
Did you have a sound in mind when you started, or was it like, let's just see what we write and we'll go from there?
Yeah, it's definitely developed over the last couple of years, hasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, I listen back to old demos occasionally, and I think, what the hell is this?
We're a prolific demoing band. Like, we just have, like, we've multiple SoundCloud accounts at this point because we keep running out of space. So,
oh wow!
And we always have been. All of us in the band write. So, it's not just like one person churning away. It's like everybody's just writing and uploading tracks and demos and stuff. But it was back then. It was definitely started as like an emo band, right? Like that was the kind of the word that we would use to describe it. This is sort of like 2018, 2019 when we first started just jamming out for fun. Like there wasn't any buzzwords around alternative hardcore adjacent music back then.
Not then. No, that came like a couple of years later, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah, for sure. Like we definitely weren't being called or calling ourselves a shoegaze band back then. So but yeah, we knew that it was like we're all into like hardcore and punk and stuff. So we knew that was going to be our roots, but we kind of wanted to push it into a more alt rock, I guess, but kind of more of the sort of the 90s alt rock umbrella that kind of encompasses everything under it, right? I feel like the term alt rock has been lost a bit over the last few years, but that was kind of like the alt rock that we were aiming to. Like I said, Sunny Day Real Estate was a huge one. And I just love like the darker, less commercial songs of Smashing Pumpkins. I was like, these songs rule. Like more bands should play music like this. So yeah, that was kind of the earlier. And Jimmy Eat World is shout out Jimmy Eat World there. They're well up there for bands that we kind of love.
Well, we'd be friends because I'm a big Sunny Day guy. That's a Sunny Day poster right there. Yeah. We love Smashing Pumpkins. We were just talking about Siamese Dream last night. Like, if that came out today, it'd be the biggest record on the fucking planet.
100%.
And then Grove Street, we had Sully and Sully was on with us.
Josh too, yeah.
Josh, yeah.
Oh,
so probably when you weren't in the band, but hey, in a different timing, we would have crossed paths before right now.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
So you guys knew each other, but never played in bands. That's always a risk. Like you know a guy, he's talented with his instrument or vocals, but sometimes it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like very few bands, the original lineup continues on for any period of time. So did you guys, was there a spark right away or what?
Yeah, I keep using the word kind of natural because it was like, it was almost seamless in the sense that we're all, we can play multiple instruments. So if someone comes up with one idea, I don't know, you kind of get someone's vibe as well from the get-go, right?
Agree. Oh yeah.
It certainly wasn't a red flag when I saw that Lewis was leaving Grove Street, and I was like, oh no, he's damaged goods, or he's not going to want to start a band again.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so because like I said, we're from a really small community. I think it is a lot of like-minded people. We're really fortunate that like a lot of my best buddies are people that I met when I was 10, 11 years old in school, right? And we grew up and we're still really close. Like, I think that's one of the positive things. There's not a huge amount of positive things growing up in like super rural. I would say suburbia for you guys, but it's not even, right? Because we're not even like close to anything urban particularly. But I think the one positive is you are a community. And I think it was super exciting. Like, yeah, I knew Sam and George used to play in like a punk rock band together, a 3-piece, and I played with Shuttler's bands when we were in college and stuff like that. So yeah, it wasn't really scary. I knew the guys, I knew they were great. And then I think because it started so casually as well, we were literally just jamming. We had like an electric drum kit and these tiny little 1-watt amps that we would just bring up to the attic and just kind of just
don't want to bug the neighbors. Don't want to wake up the neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for real. Like, yeah, that's the thing here. No fully detached houses in this band, but yeah. But it just, we were just doing it for fun, so I don't think there was any sort of like weirdness. Originally, we were just the 3-piece. Sam was playing bass, but then like quite early on, Sam was like, "I'm going to sell all my bass stuff. I want to just do vocals." That was kind of
Why was
a bit nervous.
Why was that? What was the turning point?
I don't really know. I think I've always had this habit of like buying and selling gear. I'll be totally honest. Like I just never get stimulated enough from like buying one instrument and having it for like 10 years, right? So I bought this, that was the 5-string Squire bass I had. So I was playing it a bit like a guitar.
No, it was a bass 6.
Oh, the bass 6, sorry. Yeah, 5. That's most basses. And I was kind of just done with like thinking about an instrument and writing hooks and vocal melodies. I just wanted to concentrate on one.
You didn't want to lug the gear. That's what it was. You didn't.
I'll have you know, I am the one person in the band that probably carries the most into the
right
venue.
on. Good.
Not the most, but he's pretty good for a front man for sure.
That's good.
Yeah. He shames other front men, so I'll give him that. But also, Sam is like the most impulsive person I've ever met, by the way. So I think it didn't really come as much of a surprise. He was like, "I'm not going to play bass anymore." It was like, okay. But this is the first time Sam like was just free reigning it, like no instrument. So that was kind of like an interesting point. Going, okay, let's see how this pans out.
Next thing, he's not going to want to sing. He's going to want to do something.
Yeah. Lighting. That's what we'll get him on the light. Yeah.
Lighting, keyboard, something.
Yeah.
So you said you guys were pretty rural. You traveling to go see shows and or play shows? Like, how did that start?
Yeah, there's like, we're not on the touring circuit at all. And, and traveling's hard as well because it's not even like there's good public transport. So when you're like a teenager, unless you can convince your parents to a show. Like when we were growing up, like we weren't on the touring circuit, so we would have to like, try and beg a parent to take you an hour out at Unita Buddies, because like even trains and buses, like buses are a no-go around here, and even trains are pretty bad. So it was pretty difficult. But to be honest, what that did was it created like a really strong DIY scene within the city. And like especially when we were growing up, not so much now unfortunately, but like when we were teenagers, like everyone was in bands. We had this great youth program which gave young bands spaces to rehearse. You'd pay £1 each to rehearse there, and they keep all your stuff. And they would get my first ever show when I was 14 years old was booked through those guys in like a local venue, and like everybody just, there was like 2 or 3 shows a week, and it was kind of the only thing to do. So everybody would go to those shows and just have like really great local shows. Unfortunately, it's not the case anymore with venue closures and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's enough where you got to commit to it. You got to plan for it. You got to, it's not impulse. You got to do all that. We feel you there.
Yeah, it was super difficult to see established bands unless you wanted to sort of get a train up to London, which is pretty bonkers for a teenager to do, because, like last train home is like 10, 11 o'clock at night. You leave halfway through the headline band, and it just sucks, and it's expensive. So it was pretty tricky.
How far away from London are you guys? Couple hour train?
Yeah, about an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay. So that's like us to Boston.
Yeah. I couldn't be any closer now.
Sam is in London currently.
Nice.
For real. And it's like an hour 20 to the train station in London, and then it's 40 minutes to an hour depending on where the venue is as well. Like once you're in London, right? It's similar to New York and most cities I guess you guys have there. So just like it's really, really tricky to do. Although a lot of people did from Salisbury would go to Reading Festival. Like that was the thing. That's where people would see all of their live music, would sort of save up their money and go to sort of Reading Fest and get all of those bands in one weekend kind of thing.
What was the turning point where you guys going to shows and you're like, I want to start to play music? Was it seeing a certain band, or was it just the vibe of the show, or did instruments come before seeing live gigs?
For me, it was I think the first show I went to was Enter Shikari at Bath Pavilion. And I got a lift with a friend's dad because it was the only way to get there. And I think they even bought the ticket. Oh, it was quids in. But yeah, we wouldn't get that now.
I was also at that show, and I also got a lift from a friend's dad, but me and Sam didn't know each other then. So that was funny.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was at that show. It was a fun show.
Nice. So yeah, you're like, all right, I want to be up there. It's our turn to do that. And take us back to the first Oversize show. Do you remember it?
Yeah, very well. It was in the basement. It was a venue basement though. It wasn't a person's basement. People don't have basements over here really. So that's one thing that's a real thing that I wish we had, was that people could put on basement shows in their house. But it was like it's a really cool venue, but we weren't big or good enough to play the actual venue, so we played under the venue. So you put it on, didn't you, Sam? You promoted the show.
Yeah.
And we just got a bunch of bands that we liked and slapped ourselves in the middle of the bill.
Of course.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Were you playing bass too, Sam, at the time?
No, not for that one.
You were just the front man
but
at that point.
We were a bit weak on the guitar front.
No, we had Cal. We were fully formed. Yeah, we had our original guitarist Cal at that time, who was kind of like at that point was just a friend that these guys knew from Bristol. That he would just like roll up to practice and learn the songs, and then kind of roll up to shows and play shows. But it was very much like the four of us for a long time, being sort of Oversize and the guys writing and stuff.
So how'd the gig go? I mean, obviously you're still a band, so you didn't hate it after that.
I mean, I don't really remember hearing much. Like, I think you kind of, the PA was right next to you because it was so small, and like the PA was in your ears. Like, so whatever you got was like full on distortion. and it was just a wall of sound. I don't think we really could hear what we were playing, and I don't think even the
like,
audience could.
yeah, shoegaze noise band, bro. This is sick. It was just like we're trying to just sound like Smashing Pumpkins, man. Yeah, it was funny because it was this tiny little venue, and because I was still playing in Grove Street at that point, I like rocked up with my backline. And I was like massive orange 412 and like in front of the drums because there was nowhere else to put it. I was like, oh, I've severely underestimated this. It had been a while since I'd played a sort of a basement that size, so it was quite funny. But we sold it out. We like it was capacity. We it was a free show, but like you could not get a single other person in there. So, but we played that show, and then we had another show in Brighton, which should have got cancelled because there was like a huge storm that day, and Brighton's right on the coast, so it's like the worst when a storm comes in, and nobody's leaving their house to come to a show on an evening like that. So that was pretty dire. And then literally a week later was when COVID struck. So it really took the wind out of our sails. We kind of had to. We didn't really get to get our legs before COVID come, unfortunately.
Also, that Brighton show was a 3-hour drive, and the promoter didn't even pay us fuel.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, real sucker punch.
Yeah. Real stuff.
Yeah.
They do it for the love of the game at that point. It's
Yeah, shout out that promoter.
Yeah, you owe us.
But you made it out the other side of COVID. You're still here. Put out an EP and some songs, and now the full length is coming. Let's talk Vital Signs, which is out on 2/28 so February 28th. SharpTone Records. We've had the privilege of listening to it. It's gonna be a contender for us. We think the whole year for album of the year because it's just right up our alley. The sound is absolutely what the two of us collectively typically like. So exciting time right now.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome.
Cheers, bud.
How does SharpTone take notice? We're big SharpTone fans. We actually count. I went through the roster and I was like, you're the 7th band from the current SharpTone roster we've had it on. So they love the sound. They fit right in with a lot of the bands we like. But how do they take notice?
We actually recorded the record ourselves, not ourselves, but we weren't signed when we recorded the record. So we'd done the 2 EPs, and we always wanted to be an album band. I know it sounds super counterproductive nowadays. It's all single, drive the algorithm, but like that's not what interests us. And we always knew we want to write an album. The first 2 EPs were pretty much written at the same time. It was all done over COVID. Before the first EP came out, the second EP was already recorded. But we decided it was silly, our first release being an album, so we kind of like split it out into 2 EPs. But yeah, we decided we wanted to write an album, and we kind of just said, let's do it. I've known Lewis since I was like 16, 17. I first met him from recording at that studio. And I knew I always wanted to go with him to do an album. We just like sort of bet on ourselves. We all saved up, and we went in and paid for everything ourselves and did it. We did it in 12 days, I think. We had recorded the album and then kind of decided to shop it around a little bit. And so we sent it to some labels that we dig, and in all honesty, like SharpTone wasn't on our list because we thought they wouldn't be interested. We thought there's no way a label of SharpTone's caliber is going to take on a band that have never released an album, like a couple of EPs and stuff. Like, we're not a super hype band, but we ended up just sending it to Barley at SharpTone, and he checked it out and instantly got back and was like, I love it. I've already listened to it like twice. When can we have a chat? And Taz and I went into the offices, and I was working in London that week, luckily, and we were able to go in and to meet and have a chat, and we stayed in touch, and then it finally happened. So we were so stoked. Like, honestly, we kind of thought, SharpTone, that'd be a great label to put our second or our third album. Like, we're probably not going to get somebody like SharpTone on the first one, but maybe once the first one's out, then that's an end game. And so to have them on board and putting out our debut, we're honestly like very flattered and very, very humbled. that they were willing to to jump in with such a sort of a green band.
Yeah, I think it's a good home for you guys. 12 days, that feels short. That feels really quick, right?
I mean, it felt like eternity. It was like a red hot summer. They've got these little bunks to stay in, which is all in the same room. The toilet and shower is an outer house, which is across the car park.
Oh wow.
It's super intense when you're trying to record an album's worth on top of like staying there. I think I was the only one that didn't leave site for those 12 days. Yeah. I've never written an album before either. So it takes its toll, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, and it's probably different day to day, right? Some days you're tracking guitars, some days you're tracking vocals. Were you early or late in the mix, Sam?
I was late, and the anticipation for like writing those vocals, I think there was a few bits that weren't even written yet. So I was in the back room still kind of going off of what they've just recorded to finish up some lyrics. Yeah, quite anxiety inducing, but a method that works for me, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, 12 days was loads for us because like we'd only ever like the max time we'd ever been in the studio was 4 days. Like both EPs would each EP would track in 4 days. So it was like 12 days, we've got so much time. And to be honest, that's like all we could afford. Like we couldn't afford to stay in the accommodation, and the ranch kind of just like put us up in this other room that like Sam said had bunks, and it was kind of just like we knew we wanted to go with Lewis, and we kind of did what we had to do to sort of to make it work and get sort of we had to cut him right down. Like I'm sure Lewis would have liked way more than 12 days to do that album, but we're like, and we worked with a great engineer, Kel Pinchin, who's putting out some great stuff at the moment. But Kel jumped in and engineered and put in a lot of graft with us and worked some late hours. So yeah, it all come together in the end.
Well, you said you're a full album band, and I listened to it, and it feels like a full album. It feels like a complete album. It's 10 songs, which Tony and I were talking last night. 10 is the perfect number.
Yeah.
If you get it right, because
I'd have liked to have done 12.
12 is that's where you're getting to the end of it. I think if you go 13, 14, 15, now you're asking for some filler in there, right?
Silly.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I don't agree with on Smashing Pumpkins is just like this album does not need to be four discs. It, like 48 tracks is too much for an album. But that being said, like Siamese Dream, it's a double album for sure. Like I couldn't whittle that down to one disc. But anyway, I digress.
But yeah, like that. It feels like a complete album, and I would think I've never written an album, but I would think that's like super intentional. Like I almost envision it like whiteboarding sessions. Like this is the arc of the album, and we're gonna land it. Like how do you put all this together? I'm so curious.
A lot of time demoing, I guess. We actually had again going back to SoundCloud, we had the album pre-prodded ourselves. That's where I'm quite fortunate where Lewis possesses the skills to be able to do that. So that really helped out for me writing vocals and then going into the studio, just knowing what we're doing. There's nothing worse than going into the studio and kind of guessworking it, especially when you've only got 12 days.
Yeah, time is money.
Yeah.
We had an idea of what we wanted in an album, in the sense that like one of the real sort of core pillars of the band is that we never want every song to sound the same, and we want the album to have for songs to have unique feel. But then I guess the really tricky part is tying that all together to feel like a cohesive album and not just like a playlist. So that was kind of always it in mind. And we had our other songs, and we cut a few songs to get down to that 10. And I think those choices were intentional in the fact that we were like, these 10 songs work together. I do think the order did change. We had it playlisted slightly different, and then SharpTone checked it out and made some suggestions, if I remember correctly, and we kind of shuffled a few things around. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, I believe there's like
we've been sat on this album for a long time.
2 or 3 tracks that got changed around. We always had the bookend start and finish. You can actually loop the intro into
love that.
It's cohesive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool because then it just feels like, all right, it started over again. I'm in this.
Yeah,
That's smart.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool.
And the idea is like if somebody's got this on a playlist and accidentally, you get to the last song, it's just going to start around again and make a complete circle. I would have to double check that fact because we never intended on releasing Vital as a single. So it was always the album closer. So then we had to do like a radio single cut for that. So I'll have to check it still loops, but hopefully it does.
That's interesting because we were talking about the songs and the way that it flows last night, and I was like, that song now sounds like a single, and it's the closer, and you don't see that a lot nowadays. The last song on a record being the single or a single,
All right, let's talk some tracks. My favorite song on the album is one that actually, if you're listening to this, you probably haven't heard because it hasn't come out yet, and it's track 2. Are You With Me? I love that song. Oh my goodness. About halfway through the song, when you come in, Sam, on vocals, my best when you're away, that part, it's like chills. Gives me chills. And not many songs give me chills these days. I'm pushing 40. It's tough to get me excited, but I love that song. It's like dreamy, it's soft and heavy. It's got this like subtle urgency, and I've actually felt that throughout the album. It's like you wouldn't think there'd be this urgency with maybe how subdued it is in spots, but it keeps you on your toes. And I don't know if that's intentional, but it as a listener, it's really cool.
I mean, I always saw it as thank you. I kind of saw that as a track that kind of kick-started the album. I think it's a good kind of overall track to introduce what is about to unfold, right?
I agree. Yeah.
And it kind of gives you the elements of the shoegaze from the vocals that you're just talking about, or the big kind of drums. There's quite a lot of space towards the end there. And it's funny you should say that because it's not usually a track that gets brought up in conversation.
Yeah, we're just unique then. We
yeah.
It's an early deep cut, right? It's an early cut. No, that stood out for sure. And certainly Salt, which people have heard. You get the Heavenward feature there. Great music video too. I watched that a couple nights ago.
Oh, thank you. For Salt.
For Salt, yeah.
Oh, that's really funny. We'd kind of decided we released that before we'd signed to SharpTone, and we were like, we just need to let's put some music out. And our friend Harry, who's done most of our videos, we literally had like zero time and zero money, and Harry just went round Bristol with Sam and shot a bunch of stuff, and it came out really nicely. But like, it's as rough and ready a video as you can get, but it's sick that people like it.
Well, it's throwbacky but modern too, and it fits the song. Like a lot of videos, they don't fit the song. It fits the song, and I don't know how many videos you've released from this album, like 4, maybe 4.
One just came out today.
Yeah. One today, yeah.
Fifth one came out today,
Vacant, I think, right? Yeah, they all fit the songs, which
okay.
I don't know if that's your treatment or who you the director, but they're great.
Yeah, we that's kind of like something I'm really passionate about. Like, I just love bands that have not just striking, but like when a band's identity is also across like the visual medium as well. I would spend like every evening watching music videos after school, and we were just super lucky to sort of cross paths with Harry, who does most of our stuff. But normally it revolves around I have an idea and I kind of have like a vibe, and I sort of have a chat with Harry, and we go from there. But like, yeah, I like making sure that the video just kind of sees the song through as a sort of like a mini campaign, to say, but I like tying in other visual aspects with the sort of the current song out of the band. I think I don't know, I've always really liked it when bands do that.
Nice. Well, and your music lends itself to being told in a visual format too, right? Like some songs, some bands, it's not as easy. I feel like there's a lot going on with this new LP coming here that you can do that. You can kind of find different things that tell the story visually that go with the music.
Yeah, because some videos take away from the song. I think these are a good companion to it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sure Harry would be stoked, and also Zach Pinchin did one of the videos as well. So shout out Zach. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for noticing it. It's it's nice to see that the work in the background isn't always going unappreciated.
Oh, we love that stuff, man. We dig into all of it. That's why we're doing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, what's your favorite track on this LP?
Probably Vital Signs.
Right on. Yeah.
It's just, it was like a happy accident in terms of writing that song. It was never supposed to sound so industrial and kind of like, yeah, it's huge. I think I don't usually like say good things about. I don't know. I can't say good things about our band very easily, but I think that track has something special because the whole album is the kind of revolving around like grief and grieving, and it's almost like it's giving me personally like closure. That's kind of how I see that track. So it kind of taken on the journey of my grief throughout the album, and then it's almost like a cleanse, and I can be like, right, great, it's over, it's done with.
No, I like that. That's the music that I connect with the most are records like that and songs like that are telling you a story and are working you through something. Grew up with the emo scene in the early 2000s, and that stuff, when I'm 18, 19 years old, it was everything at that point, So I definitely love music like that can take you through and kind of make you feel better on the other end of it.
Yeah.
And give you room to interpret it in your own way too. And I feel
definitely.
like the music does. The music and the vocals and lyrics do that. And I'll be excited to get, if you guys are doing like vinyl, just to get all the lyrics, because I'd love to just sit down with it and kind of dissect it. There's some lyrics you can find online for some of the singles, but the unreleased stuff, I couldn't find anything yet. But
Nice.
Sam's really great, like at writing interesting lyrics as well. I think that is one of the reasons why I was so keen to work with Sam, because I don't know if you guys are the same, but like sometimes I like a song and then I see the lyrics, like especially when lyric videos come out, and I'm just like, oh, these are really bad. These are super cringe.
Yeah,
and then
you ruin the song for me.
Ruined, right? And it's so easy. Like that's never been a strength of mine, writing lyrics. So like, I really admire Sam's ability to write interesting lyrics and lyrics that sound, words that sound nice to sing. I think is definitely a unique skill, or a skill that it's not every band possesses. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Not every band possesses that at all. That's for sure. All right, we're getting close here, so we got a couple things to land the plane. Future stuff, touring, shows. What do you got coming up here?
We've got some stuff in the works. Not a huge amount we can share right now, but we've got some UK release shows for Vital Signs, which we'll play the record in full. Probably the only time we'll ever do that, but we thought it was a cool opportunity. We wrote the songs to flow into each other, so we thought, if not now, then when? So we're going to play the record in full for a few shows at the UK, and that's throughout March. And then we're also at 2000 Trees Festival in the UK as well.
So when this episode comes out, the record will be coming out in probably 2 or 3 weeks. It's your debut record. It's coming out, on a label that maybe you didn't anticipate. If it was me, I'd be geeked. How are you guys feeling? You guys nervous to get it out there? Are you happy? You relieved? You're like, what's going on in your heads?
I'm excited to get it out there. We've been sat on it for what feels like eternity, and I hope that it serves a purpose to people, and resonates with people in some way, and gives us like our identity. EPs can only do so much. An album is like a body of work that says, hey, we're Oversize, this is us. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. It's been so long, such a long time coming, and I think like maybe any nerves that would come with like a normal debut have kind of subsided a little bit because of the duration, and also like the positive feedback we've had from it is it's nice, it's reassuring. But like, yeah, it's a really stressful thing doing a debut record, because you have all of this pressure and you kind of compare yourself to the great bands that have put out their first records, and you're like, these albums are amazing, like ours isn't that good. But then with us, we just like enough's enough. We're just these are the songs we're gonna record and write, and like, so be it. And there's always album 2 and album 3 is our mindset, so it kind of takes the pressure off of us in that sense. But yeah, I'm just really excited for people to hear it, and it kind of get the closure so we can start writing the next one. That's what I'm looking forward to, getting writing on the next
one. Well, hey, we're excited for you guys. This has been a lot of fun chatting, and our audience that listens to our podcast, if you're listening to this and haven't checked out Oversize, go do it. It'll be right in your wheelhouse, I promise you. If you're a fan of this podcast and the music we talk about, you're going to be right at home.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. The new album Vital Signs out on February 28th on SharpTone Records. If you are listening to this after, go spin it now. If you listened to it before, go pre-order it, all that stuff. And we're excited for you guys, and we'll talk to you down the line, maybe when you get come to the States.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for
this,
guys.
Yeah, if you come to the Northeast, we'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, and hope to catch you soon.
Thank you for listening to Podioslave. We are at Podioslave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podioslave Podcast. YouTube, Podioslave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.